Hey y'all. Mm. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Let's see. Come on in the room. Come on in. I'm typically not on live, but I'm going live tonight. I am going live tonight. So, come on in, y'all. Yes, it is a different setting, different background. But come on in. Hey, Shay. Come in the room. Come on in. I'm going to try not to be on here too long. But I know how I can get sometimes when I just, I start feeling it and I just keep going until I feel led to stop. So, y'all come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Tonight, as I always do whenever I come on, just want to give some words of encouragement. And y'all probably like, words of encouragement? Yes, words of encouragement. This is the Advent season. And I know we all going through something, some tests, some trials, some tribulations or what have you, We all going through it, in some shape, form, or fashion. So I really just want to come on here and encourage y'all and share a little of my testimony, where I am along my journey right now. So sure, like, tag, repost, do whatever you need to do. But I just want to encourage you guys in this fourth quarter. So hey, welcome to my live. I know y'all saw the title, "Don't Give Up the Fight." Hey, Mrs. Diane. I love you too. Don't give up the fight. Y'all know I'm very transparent. I get on Facebook, I share via video every so often, but more so I share via post, and I'm always trying to give an encouraging word. But my last few posts, hey Tiffany, my last few posts, I've been talking about, my struggles. The last one that I just posted was related to, me dealing with my weight the last year and a half. But I want to share something with you guys. I know a few months ago I shared about my new job, and I was so ecstatic and so just on fire because I just knew, like, great things were going to happen, new doors were going to open, and new opportunities. And I was there for 29 days, y'all. And literally 29 days. September the 29th was my last day. Caught me off guard, but I kept moving. Depression hit me so hard, y'all. Like, I did not understand why. Why was I in this particular situation where I'm over here on social media exclaiming, like, God, you open up this door and now it's closed. but I couldn't blame nobody but myself because of the things that had transpired. So, I had to take an account for my actions and began to look within to see, like, okay, we got some things to work on. Okay. But even in that, God, He did not leave me in that state. He did not allow me to waddle in self-pity. He gave me the strength to keep moving. And so I kept moving, and that was on a Wednesday. By Friday, I had a job. So the door was open where I was still able to provide, and still struggling financially, having to pay almost a $1,500 rent each month, struggling, trying to put food on the table, struggling, trying to pay for car notes, struggling, still trying to worship God. But my faith I was struggling in my faith. I'm like, okay, God, like, why am I in this position? Why am I dealing with what I'm dealing with? Why does it seem like when I take 10 steps forward, I get knocked down, or I find myself 30 steps further from where I started? Like, how could we get to this place? So this was in the end of September. October comes. It seemed like everything is A-okay. And, I'm still trying to press. Doors begin to open for me to be able to minister at other churches in song. But even in that, to open up my mouth and sing was a struggle. Because I'm like, God, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I got all of this stuff going on. I don't know if I'm coming or going. But yet it's still trying to do my podcast. Still posting on social media. And still trying to encourage other people where it seemed like, I'm still trying to pedal and stay afloat. And so I'm like, for real, God? Okay, birthday come along. I'm like, okay, things are getting better. November comes, and that's when all hell breaks loose. But before that, in August, the enemy began to show his ugly head, and began to attack my son. And if y'all know anything about having a relationship with God, pride goes before destruction and a haughty heart before a great fall. God, He will send warning. He will send warning before things even transpired. And that's what began to occur with me. Hey, Thomas. Hey, Conte. We're going to check. Okay, Thomas. And so, God began to speak to me. So I remember having a dream, August the 19th, because that was a Thursday. August the 19th, I remember waking up out of my sleep. And in my dream, I was driving down Sutherland Avenue. If any of y'all live in Knoxville, Tennessee, y'all know where Sutherland is. And in this particular dream, it was pitch dark. But I was driving in the middle of the night, driving down this street. And out of nowhere, this vehicle came flying down the street behind me. And the sirens, I saw blue and red lights, and I woke up. And I'm like, God, what is this? So I remember writing it down when I woke up. Because if anybody knows me, I am a scribe. So I scribe. A lot of times I don't. Because I'm like, okay, I don't know about all of this. But this particular time, I remember writing this down. And I wrote it down. On the 20th, the next day, which was a Friday, I was going about my day. I came home. My daughter came home. It was about 4:20. My daughter was in the kitchen, and I asked her a question. I said, Chai, if anything were to happen to your brother, and I don't know why I asked this in that moment, but I asked the question. I said, if anything were to happen to your brother, would you be shocked? Would you be surprised? Like what? And she was like, what do you mean? I'm like, if something were to occur, if something were to happen, would you be caught off guard? She said, yes and no. I said, okay, help me out with this one. Why yes? Because of his actions. I said, okay. Why no? She said, because it's my brother. I said, that's fine. I get it. So about 6:25, I was on the phone and I get a call. I'm on FaceTime, so I see this call come through and I'm like, who is this? I'm like, oh, this is my son. I said, hey, let me call you back. They said, okay, cool. I hung up the phone. I answered. I said, hello. Nobody said anything. Next thing I know, it sounded like a call from the penitentiary. And I know, like, everybody on here not saved. Y'all probably gotten calls from the penitentiary. I have, where I've talked to people on the phone. My children's father, my biological mother. So I know what that's like to get a call from the penitentiary. So at this point, I'm listening and I'm like, what is going on? Because all I saw when the call came through was my son's face. And I'm answering the phone and it's not his voice. So I'm like, hold on now. And I hung up the phone. I immediately called my son. He did not answer. I FaceTimed him. He did not answer. I kept on doing this over 10, 15-minute time span. He never once answered. And I said, okay, God, it's in your hands. I let whatever you got to do, you do it. This was at 6:25 when the so-called call came through from my son. So 4 hours later, I get a call. It said caller ID unknown. I'm on the phone with the same individual. I'm like thinking, should I answer the call? And it was like Holy Spirit said answer. I said, hey, let me call you back. I answered the phone. Hey, this is KPD officer. I said, oh my Lord. Y'all, this was KPD. They had pulled my son over. He was not on Sutherland Avenue. He was on Western. So that's what I'm saying. Like God, he speaks. He gives warning. And as it relates to the prophetic, we know in part. So I believe God was giving me a warning in that time, in that moment, to prepare me for what was happening, what was about to transpire. So God has been continuously giving me warning, continuously showing me things. But what is so frustrating is I'm like, well, I need the full picture. Like God showed me the full picture, but he keep on giving me snippets. And I'm like, this is frustrating. So fast forward. So here we are in November. And y'all, when I tell y'all these last 3 weeks have been a whirlwind, I will use that because I know the saints are on here and I don't want to offend anybody. So I say that it has been a whirlwind. My son, and I know people talk, but I'm transparent. I'm very transparent. I will not go into depth about it, but my son, he is in juvenile because he committed a crime. He committed a crime. And before he did said crime, Holy Spirit spoke through me again to give him warning. Before he left, I said, now because I've always told my children, with every action, there's a reaction. And there are consequences to our actions, whether good or bad. I said, but you hold the key. I said, you hold the key. I said, so whatever you do, realize that you gotta deal with the consequences. I said, do you hear me? He said, yes, ma'am. I said, I love you, son. He went on about his business. And I know my son was not in his right mind because when he came to the apartment, he was high. He was high. I did not belittle him. I did not make him feel less than. I just let him know what I would not tolerate and that I loved him. My son went on about his business. This is at 8:30. By 9:20, a crime was committed. So the thing about it is, when we do things, it does not just impact you as the individual that has done the deed, but it impacts everybody else that is connected. So it's a ripple effect. So not only did my son go to juvenile and is in juvenile, but he will be serving time for 6 months. But he will be serving time. Not only that, but because of crime, said crime, I received a letter. And this was just 2 weeks ago. Yes, it was just 2 weeks ago. So I'm on here still trying to encourage y'all, still trying to motivate and empower you guys. And I'm going through this whirlwind. So on the 30th, y'all, I'm at work and my daughter comes home to a letter from an attorney stating that your lease has been terminated effective December the 3rd by 5 p.m. So here it is on the 30th. I'm trying to figure out what is my next move. And if anybody knows me, I'm a processor. So I have to process because I know what it's like to get in my feelings. I know what it's like to be emotionally led. So in order for me to not move in that manner, I got to process. I have to get my thoughts together. So that's what I did. I'm talking to my mom. She's like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I don't know. Like, that's all I could say. I don't know. I said, well, I'm going to reach out to the landlord and try to get a feel of, what's going on. If what can I do? But before I did that, God, he is very strategic. He, networking, being connected with individuals that, are attorneys who have, insight on, matters of such. I reached out to my brother in Christ and I asked him, I was like, hey, attorney, I was like, hey, elder more so, I was like, hey, got a situation, XYZ occurred. I don't know what to do. Cool. Just like, said he'd get back with me, reach out to the attorney, blase. Okay. So I'm getting somewhere. And so at this point, once I got off the phone, I told my daughter, I said, hey, China, I need you to do me a favor. I said, I need you to go ahead and start getting your belongings together and pack up. She looked at me. She said, yes, ma'am. I don't just have, let me rephrase that. When I move into apartments, I make them homes. So it's not like, oh, this is my apartment. I got these folding chairs up or whatever. No, it is a home. So here I am, a 3 4-bedroom apartment, fully furnished, 2 full baths, fully furnished, and I got to get all of this stuff packed up, figure out what I'm to do. Like, you give me 72 hours. Let's say 78 hours, because it was at the end of the day on a work day that I got the letter. You give me 78 hours and I got to move. I got to figure out where I got to go. And so I'm like, okay. So by Thursday, I'm like, okay, I got to get the ball moving. Let me call the landlord, see if she can work something out. Lord, I need a miracle. Let me stay here. Like, we comfortable, we good. Let me stay here. So, call the landlord, talk to the landlord. I talked to her on Wednesday because I asked for my lease, because I wanted to review my lease, kind of get a feel of, like, can they really do this? And so I called her back. I was like, hey, I know I got that letter from your attorney, the apartment complex attorney. Is there any way that, we can work something out? I said, I have 2 propositions for you. I said, one, I can either stay here. I said, being that my son is not in my custody and, he's not in my custody, and like, is there any way you can work that out? Or maybe y'all can work something out where I can get more time in order for me to move. You know what she told me? She said, no, because you reached out to an attorney and inquired about the situation, you would need to go through our attorney. When I tell y'all, I was baffled. Because I'm like, what in the world? Like, what am I going to do? Where is my daughter and I going to go? Like, God, I have all of this stuff to put in boxes, figure out something, put it in storage, something. I don't know where to go. At this point, I was so frustrated. And I had to get me together, not just for me, but for my daughter, so that she would know how to handle things under pressure. Y'all, talking about hurt. 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 So, I think I posted something, and one of my friends, it was a word of encouragement, and one of my friends, it's something about when God connects you with people, they don't read what is said, in a sense, what is posted. They read through it to know the intent of the heart. And so that's what he did. He saw, and he concerned about me. And I kind of gave him a synopsis of what was going on. Any way I can help you, I'm there, sis. Cool. Thank you so much. I'm going to need you tomorrow, which was Friday, because I got to move. He said, I got you. Another friend said the same thing. He said, I got you. Another friend, girlfriends, hey, I'm here for you. I'm like, look, I just need you to pray. Basically, I know they got work, so I'm not putting you in a position where, you're going to have to call off work. That's just not me. Cool. If you got free time, hey, by all means. So it's like God just began to pull people together. My mom, she ended up reaching out to one of the ladies at her church who had an F-150. My mama came that Thursday night and began to move stuff. When I tell y'all, I'm one, when I pack, especially when I move, I'm very strategic. So I'm like, I do it room by room, because I want things in order. I want you to move the stuff so where I know where things are. That was not the case this time. It just seemed like everything was everywhere. Like, there was no order. It was just chaotic, and that frustrated me. But I knew I had to get out of this apartment by 5 p.m. Friday, December the 3rd. So at this point, I did not care. My mama came in, and she began fussing. When I tell y'all, I was this close to snapping, like, because of the weight that I was feeling. Not just from August of my son, acting out, not just from September when, the job, I lost the job, but because the year prior to that, dealing with the loss of not just one grandparent, two grandparents, and then within 6 months time period, I lost my last living grandfather. Like that hurt. So, I'm dealing with all of this. I'm dealing with all of this pressure. I'm dealing with all of this weight. And I'm like, God, you said that you would not put more on me than I could bear. Like right now, I don't feel like I can breathe. So, when my mom's coming at me, like all of these thoughts are going through my head. And I'm like, I just told her, like, I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know which way I'm going or coming. And I think in that moment, she realized, like, okay, let me let up. Let me extend grace. And so I started packing, getting stuff together. So we began to move stuff. My mom, my daughter, and I, we began to move stuff. And my mom made 2 rounds and brought stuff to her house. And, I told my supervisor. And, God is so faithful, because my supervisor is not just a believer. She's a woman of God. She loves the people of God. And she empathized with me. And she said, do you think you need to take the day off? Because I was going to try to work and move. And I said, you know what? Yes, I do. So I was able to take paid time off in order for me to move. Keep in mind, as I told y'all, I have a 3 full bedroom apartment, fully furnished, living room, dining room, kitchen, appliances, washer, dryer, all of this stuff, y'all. 2 desks, my work computer, my personal computers, like all of this stuff, TVs, all of this stuff. I got to pack and be out of this apartment by 5 p.m. and turn these keys in Friday, December the 3rd. It was nobody but the grace of God. Nobody but the grace of God. When I tell y'all, I woke up at 5:30 a.m. that Friday morning, and I got to moving. I got to moving stuff here, pulling it out, putting it in my living room, stacking stuff, breaking down stuff. By 6:30, waking my daughter up, sending her off to school like it's a regular day, like ain't nothing happening. But yet and still, I got the weight of the world on my shoulders and still trying to get stuff taken care of, while still grieving the fact that I have a son who's in juvenile now that has to serve time. So I'm dealing with all of this. By 9 o'clock, no, it was earlier than that, I get a girlfriend. Hey, my boss, he may be able to let you use his one of the trucks here at work. Okay, cool. I was like, y'all got a dolly? Let me check. I got boxes. Okay, cool. Tell me what time I needed to be there. I rolled up on her, got them boxes, stacked them boxes, broke them down, did what I had to do, and got back to my apartment by good enough time for my crew, my moving crew, to come in. When I tell y'all, I had my cousin come through. My mama called one of my cousins. She was trying to find people, some homeless people, just to help me. Didn't find them. God, he's strategic. Everything happens for a reason. And then my friend drives in from Morristown. He comes to help me. Then my homeboy, I ended up calling him the night before. He was like, we'll be there. He and his wife came through. So I had an army of folks. My mama. So we got all of this stuff together, y'all. And the boxes that my friend had got, y'all, it was more than enough. It was more than enough boxes. And I drive a Mazda CX-5. So I had my seats laid down, had them boxes stacked, and they were boxes and boxes and boxes. And I pulled them boxes out, and we got to moving. And so we didn't have nothing but an F-150. And while we moving, one of my friends, he's sick, and I'm not knowing. So he over here trying to help me, and he not feeling well. And we get to a point where we get stuff on my mom's truck. On the truck that my mom was using. And I ended up going to the Dollar General because I needed some tape. And he calls me. He said, I'm going to go get you a U-Haul. Keep in mind, I really don't have any money to be doing any extra. Because I already, like I told y'all, $1,300, $1,400 rent. Got car note, got food that I got to put on the table, got to take care of my children. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have money to spare because this is something that I just did not expect. So he goes get this U-Haul. But I tell y'all, we did some moving. We did all of that in a timely manner. And I was able to turn them keys in at 4:45 p.m. We cleaned that apartment. If anybody know me, I'm not going to go into an apartment and leave it a mess just because y'all did me dirty. Or I feel like y'all did me dirty. No. I'm going to do what's necessary. I'm going to clean up. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I'm going to turn my keys in. These keys in and leave it. At least try to leave it better than I came in. I did just that. So here I am. At my mom's house. Here I am at my mom's house. And I'm still in a place of bewilderment. Not understanding why things happen the way they do, but I have an inkling that this next season is going to be even greater. This next season is going to be even greater. As I posted a couple of days ago, and I said, one of my friends stated that this is my Job season. And if y'all know anything about Job, Job was a wealthy man, wealthy prophet of God. And the enemy came, and he came to God, trying to get access. God said, have you tried my servant Job? I promise that's how I feel with God. Like, he tested me. But there's some things, that I'm learning. I'm learning about me. That day, that Thursday, I heard resilient. And I'm like, okay. All right, resilience. And so I knew I can't give up. I done been through some mess, y'all. I came in the world fighting. Born to a 17-year-old young lady who didn't know what it was to be a mother, let alone raise one. But to think about it, I'm not knocking. God, he gives us measures. He gives us gifts. He gives us measures of faith. Sometimes, some souls, some plants, some water. My mom birthed me into this world because there was purpose. There is purpose on my life. And sometimes God allows things to occur, just like with Moses. Pharaoh, he wanted to kill all of the male seeds. And so what Moses' mother had to do, she wrapped him up and put him in this basket and sent him down the Nile. The Nile was full of alligators and serpents and all of that could have killed him. But even in the midst of him being surrounded, he was not consumed because he had a destination. He had a destination, a set place for him to be, so that he could do what it was that God called him to do and to be about. And even as he got older, he still wasn't trying to do what God had called him to do, because he always complained. He talked about, well, I got a stuttering problem. God was like, your stuttering problem ain't going to stop the mere fact that I called and I chose you. So he had an errand for him. One that understood and how to undergird him as it related to his assignment. I feel the same way with me. Sometimes I don't feel like I got everything, the words to say. Sometimes I feel overlooked. Sometimes I feel like I don't have it all together. A lot of people may envy me because I look like I got it all together. In reality, I don't. I just know how to trust in God to carry me through. So whatever God has for me in this season, I know that it's greater. It's greater. It's greater than what I've just lost. It's greater than what I've just endured. And I'm here to share the story because a lot of times we want to hold on to what it is that we're going through when somebody else needs to hear, like, you're going through it, but I got faith in God to carry me through. I don't understand. I don't know which way to go, but I trust God that if he brought me to it, he's going to bring me through it. So I'm here as an ambassador. I'm here just to encourage somebody on here that may be going through, somebody on here that may feel like giving up, to let you know that you're not in this by yourself. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't allow what you are going through to cause you to stop. You got more to do, because this thing is bigger than you. That's what I'm realizing. Even in the midst of this, I'm realizing that this thing is so much bigger than me. There's a generation that needs what I have in my mouth. And the same with my son. It hurt me. When I tell y'all, it hurt me to not only see my son shackled, but as I'm talking to him, I'm hearing the shackles clink. Y'all don't know that kind of pain. Y'all don't know that kind of pain. It hurts because there's nothing that I can do for him in this moment but pray and trust and believe that God has him where he needs him to be. God has him exactly where he needs to be, because there have been many nights, sleepless nights, many days where I didn't know if I was going to come, because I did not know what was going on with my son. I didn't know. All I could do was pray. All I could do was ask him. But he was in a place where he was lost. In a place where he just could not verbalize what he was going through. So he was seeking for love in all the wrong places. He was seeking for validation from people who could not even validate him, because one, they didn't call him. One, they did not create and fashion him. So God has him in a good place. And even when I talked to him for the first time behind those, in that visitation room, I asked him, I said, son, how you doing? He's like, I'm all right. I said, okay. He's like, he said, you know, the first 2 nights, he said, I was wanting to get in the Bible, but I just couldn't. I said, okay. He said, but today, which was on the Thursday, he said, no, it was actually on a Tuesday. He said, for some reason, I opened up the Bible and I was going to read Genesis, but something told me to read Psalm 1. I said, did? I said, okay. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. And in that law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of living water. And I stopped right there. I said, Trillion, God is speaking to you. I said, God is speaking to you. I said, now the thing about it is, as he's speaking, are you listening? Are you listening? I said, sometimes God will put us in a place of isolation, in a place where it seemed like it seems dark, in order for him to get your attention. I said, I believe God has you here for an appointed time. I said, he has you here for an appointed time. I said, because he wants to speak to you. And I said, with the hustle and bustle of life, with you having access to social media, you having access to the phone, and you're able to communicate with any and everybody, I said, he had to isolate you and pull you out of that environment so that he could speak to you. And he looked at me and he said, yes, ma'am, you're right. I said, do you remember in 2018, in January, when you were getting baptized? I said, I decreed and declared over your life that you will reach nations and generations. He said, yes, ma'am. And I told him, I reminded him, I said, God has a call on your life. I said, before he even fashioned you and shaped you in my womb, he had a call on your life. And I said, so therefore, I said, while you're here, you might as well listen, because I know he's speaking. And he said, yes, ma'am. He's like, you know, I was like, I don't know why I'm reading Psalm 1. I said, yeah. I said, because he's trying to get your attention and let you know that you have not been amongst the wise. You haven't been amongst the wise. And he's letting you know the blessings that occurred when you are amongst the wise. Blessed is the man that walketh not. That's where he's trying to get you. When you walk not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of the sinners, but your delight, your hunger, your thirst is in the law of the Lord. What he desires, his precepts, what it is that he wants of you to do. That's where the blessing rests. And he looked at me. I said, yeah. I said, there's a call in your life, and has always been a call. That's why you've been enduring so much turmoil. That's why you've been going through so much, because there's a call on your life, son. I said, you know, people, youth, your age, and some people my age too. I said, they don't want to hear no preacher, you know, behind the pulpit with these tailor-made suits looking all like they looking with these golds on their hands and what have you. I said, no, they need to see somebody who looks like you. They need somebody who looks like you, who sounds like them, who's been through something, in order to realize and understand that there is a God. I said, you got a testimony. I said, you got a testimony. What you going through? I said, now, granted, I got my testimony. I have a testimony in this situation. I said, now, son, your testimony, you only can tell that. And he told me, he said, I bet you're going to have me on your podcast. I said, if you want to. If you want to share your story, I don't mind. I said, I'm not going to force it. I said, but one thing about it is I can't tell your story. I can only tell my side of the story. You have to tell your story. And I said, I believe God is building a platform even now for you to share your testimony. And he looked at me. He said, yes, ma'am. I believe so, too. And even in this, it don't feel good. It don't feel good. Because as I look on my timeline, I see friends with children looking forward to May graduation. I see friends who have children who are actually preparing to walk the stage now. But here I am, having to visit my son for an hour once a week. Here I am, having to talk to my son on the phone once a week for 15 minutes on a Sunday. But I know, as Romans 8:28 tells us, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So I know, even though it don't feel good, it's working for my good. Not just my good, my son's good. All of our goods. You know? So as you're going through, don't give up. Somebody is watching you who needs to be encouraged. Somebody needs to know that God is real. This is not just something that's mystical or something that's a fairy tale or you know, some people will say, well, this white Jesus. I don't care what color he is. At the end of the day, I know that he hung, bled, and died for me. He saved a wretch like me. And he has continued to do a work in me as I continue to surrender my will to him. You know, and so I'm grateful because I should have lost my mind. Even in this, I done been through some hell, y'all, prior to this. And I'm just going through. David wrote in the Psalms, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Yes, this has felt like death. This has felt like I lost so much. But in reality, I'm gaining so much. I'm gaining so much. So even though my son is not in my home right now, or we're not under the same roof, I know where he is. I know where he is. And so that's a weight that has been lifted off of me because I know where my son is. I know that God is doing something that I can't do. I can't control the situation. I can't. And that's one thing that I know that God has really been showing me, like, Ebony, if you're going to trust me, trust me. You cannot manipulate the hand of God in order for things to go in your favor. If you're going to trust him, trust him. And I'm excited. I know you probably like, how are you excited? And I'm excited because I know that God has greater. I know. And yeah, I've been having the weight of depression trying to hover over me. But I keep pressing through. And I know Holy Spirit told me, he said, don't go back to what made you sick. I don't know who needs to hear that. God is doing something in your life even now. And because it's unfamiliar, because it doesn't feel good, because it's uncomfortable, you're trying to go back to the familiarity. And God's telling you, don't go back. to what made you sick. Keep moving forward. Keep trusting that God is going to lead, God, and direct you in the path of righteousness. The testing of our faith produces perseverance. That's what the word tells us. Yeah. So yeah, it don't feel good, but it's working for your good. Don't give up. Don't give in. Somebody needs your testimony. Somebody needs to know that God is a way maker, that he is a miracle worker, that he is a promise keeper, that he is a light in the darkness. Like, those are not just lyrics to a song. Like, that is literally my testimony. Like, I know that without a shadow of a doubt, that he is a way maker. I should be homeless, but God made a way. He made a way. And for that, I'm grateful. For that, I'm grateful. And I know that even in me sharing this, I know that there are going to be some other obstacles that are going to come forth, because the enemy does not want me to release anything. He's been trying to keep a muzzle on my mouth. And there's a difference between when God puts a muzzle on your mouth and when the enemy tries to put one on your mouth. And I know the enemy has tried to put a muzzle on my mouth because he knows that I'm a threat to the kingdom of darkness. And the same with you. You are a threat to the kingdom of darkness. You are a threat. So whatever monkey wrench he's trying to throw at you, you got to know who you are in God. You got to know without a shadow of a doubt that the greater one lives within you. And you rise above it and keep moving. You might feel like, well, everybody looking at me and they talk about me. So what? So what? If you can't deal with the mockery, if you can't deal with the ridicule, then you might as well take the sign off that you a Christian. Because in actuality, you got to take up your cross. If you're going to follow him, you take up your cross and follow him. And if that's not what you want to do, abort mission. Abort mission. But those of y'all who know, and you might not even be 100%, but you just got this inkling that you know that God has called you to greater. Don't give up the fight. Don't give up. Don't give in. Keep pressing forward. Keep pressing forward. God has you. God has you. Whew. God has you. I love y'all. I don't have anything else to share. I pray that this live has blessed you. Don't give up the fight. Keep fighting. The word of God tells us before I end, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty unto God through the pulling down of strongholds. We can't use carnal means, carnal weaponry. But we have to use the weaponry in which God has given us in order for us to fight this spiritual battle. Remember, we wrestle not against flesh and blood. This is not a flesh and blood battle. This is a battle against principalities, against rulers of wickedness in high places, spiritual wickedness in high places. This is a spiritual battle, y'all. And just realize and know that the fight is already fixed. I love y'all. Be blessed. Until next time.